This is Jablam Hockey with your hosts, Peter Wojcicki and Paul Swinbeck. Welcome to Jablam Hockey. I'm your host, Peter Wojcicki. You can find me on Twitter at Russian98, and I'm with
Paul Zwambag. You can find me at Zwambag, Z-W-A-M-B-A-G. Hello, everybody. Peter, how's it going?
It's going.
Just going.
It's just going, you know. It's one of those days. One of those days when you get up, you go for your short shift at work, you travel to get in there, sort of traffic, thick and thin. Then you go, try to do insurance things, nothing works. And then on your drive home, a rock hits your windshield, and your windshield is all cracked by the time you get home.
Oh,
you know, it's one of those days.
Lovely.
Yeah, so I tried calling the guy on the way home, and the thing just starts slowly, like, getting further and further, the crack of the windshield. I'm like, oh, this is not looking good. I'm like, well, at least I made it home. But that bothered me. And, yeah, of course, like, everybody's closed at, like, whatever, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, anyways, other than that, things are looking pretty good in hockey world, right?
Yeah.
We've got our website. Go there, check it out. A lot of hard work Paul has put into this. Jablamhockey.com. It's great stuff. It's got all our episodes. It's got all our team ISOs that we've done so far. And again, every time we make our Saturday's picks and our prospect of the week, it's on there as well.
Yeah. And we're hoping to add a couple more different segments on there. We want to get an article written up once a week.
Yeah, we're going to be blogging soon. It'll be like weekly blogs. Me or Paul will be putting up some blogs, and check that out soon.
Yeah.
And again, always remember to subscribe, rate, and review us. We're on iTunes for the podcast. Go there. Please subscribe, rate, and review us. And again, always, we still have the Facebook group, and we're still putting all our stuff up there. Paul put up the current rosters for the World Cup rosters of who they've named so far to the teams, and they're on there. It looks great. So go check that out. All right, what do we have for this episode? First, we're going to talk about the team that's on fire, Tampa Bay. Is this the best Tampa Bay team of all time? We'll get into that. We're team ISOing the Pittsburgh Penguins, and we're going to review all our friendly bets, and of course, last but not least, we have prospect of the week. But first, trending now, the Nashville Predators, 13 consecutive games with a point. I believe that's 9 wins and 4 OT, or shootout losses. How are they doing it, Paul?
Their second line is unreal. Craig Smith, Mike Ribeiro, Philip Forsberg. It's a run through Philip Forsberg. This guy is unbelievable. In the past 14 games, he's got 21 points. It's 1.5 points per game rate.
Crazy. I remember at the beginning of the season, everybody saying to pick Craig Smith. I was one of the guys that actually picked him up, and I was like, oh, he's going to have a solid season. He's probably going to play with Philip Forsberg right there. Nothing really came of it. They were really slow out of the gate, but now they picked it up.
Yeah, and this line has got awesome chemistry. Johansson and Neal are on another line, and they just kind of rotate through a third guy. Colton Sissons just got called up. He's having a real good game. And Pekka Rinne has finally found his game. He had a hot start. He cooled off November, December, January, and he's just picked it up since All-Star break. He's really turned his game around, and yeah, he's winning games for them, and they're scoring at a high rate. Like this team is no longer the Barry Trotz Predators that we all remember for the past 7-8 years. This is a high-flying offensive team now.
Yeah. Leaf fans might remember Granberg. Peter Granberg does play for the Predators now. He's played a couple games. He's looked pretty good for them. But the guy that's underrated, and I hated it when they signed him to that long contract, is Ryan Ellis. A bargain deal for him, who's played really well on the back end. Him and even Ekholm. Ekholm's been good as well, too. They have such a good defensive team, and they're so underrated.
Yeah, and that's why they were able to move Seth Jones for an offensive guy like Ryan Johansson, and they needed that offensive guy. Like they couldn't do it all with just one line, and Forsberg and Neal were doing it for a while, and now they got two solid lines of scoring. And yeah, there's a lot of bottom six guys that like you could rhyme them off and you maybe have heard half of them, but they just do a solid job of shutting it down. So yeah, they have a pretty good team, and they might be a sneaky playoff pick.
Yeah, I. It's tough to say. That division's really tough. And again, when a team like the Predators have to play the Hawks, the Blues, and even the Dallas Stars so often, it's going to make their record not look as pretty as per se other teams in the other divisions.
Yeah,
So,
maybe they'll luck out and play a Pacific team. Maybe that's not really getting lucky, but
yeah.
would you rather play Anaheim or Dallas, Chicago?
Yeah, you would hope for them, if they end up in that wild card spot, they would play at Dallas, just because some of their players are a little bit less inexperienced, especially their core, for the playoffs. So you're not too sure how well Dallas is going to play in the playoffs. But the Ducks and the Hawks, I can't see anybody really taking them apart, and it'll be a battle, maybe later on in the playoffs between those two teams. But we'll see how Nashville's doing. They're playing really well right now. And hey, you know what? They might move up in the standings and go further up in that division.
Yeah.
So, all right. Paul said we were jinx, about the Hawks after their streak and they lost, but we weren't for the Lightning and the Ducks this past weekend. So we'll see how the streak goes for the Preds. I was already going to talk about this even before tonight's game, and they won, so that's good. So we'll see how the Preds go from here on out, or at least the next few games. All right, the LA Kings, seems like they're going to re-sign Lucic. They say that he's a great fit, and Lucic is saying all the good things. I want to stay here. He wants to stay. He seems like he's really happy playing for the LA Kings. But for how much, and how are they going to fit him under the cap?
Maybe they have to move. Looking at their schedule, and maybe they have to move Dustin Brown. Like, there's been a lot of captains moved in the past year and a half or so, so maybe he's the next captain to go. And he makes a lot of money for a guy that isn't a top line forward anymore.
Yeah, we were talking about it, and I don't know how they can. Like, Gaborik, I still think he's going to bounce back. He's been injured this year, but it's going to be hard to move a Brown or Gaborik maybe in the offseason to fit in Lucic. You never know. Maybe the cap will go that much higher, but I don't see it. You have the extension for Kopitar going up to $10 million, so that's more than $3 million higher than his previous cap hit. That's going to be a big hit, big chunk taken right there. So it will be really tough. His current cap hit is 3.25, but his actual salary for this season is 6.5. So where would his new cap hit be then?
Yeah, is it because Boston retained some of that? So
yeah,
it looks like it's half of his salary, but really it is a $6 million cap hit.
Yeah, it is something like that is what happened basically. So it does look lower for the Kings, but yeah, like he's gonna get at least $5 million cap hit. It's going to be that, at least.
Yeah, you would think so.
Can't be anything lower than that. So I don't know how they're going to fit in roughly a $6 million cap hit on the team.
Yeah, and they only have 4 signed defensemen, NHL defensemen. So
yep.
They got like Braden McNabb, who's an RFA, and like Jamie McBain's a UFA, and Luke Shen's a UFA. Rob Scuderi's one of those 4 guys. So
are they expecting a guy like Zykov or somebody coming up the rankings and playing fairly decent minutes for them, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
So this will be a test for the Kings to see how they can fit Lucic into the team. And even a guy like Trevor Lewis is UFA this summer, and I would expect him to get a bit of a raise. Lewis! I love saying his name when he scores. He's a talented fourth liner for them that's played well for them, so I don't know. It's going to be tough. It will be tough, but we'll see what the Kings do this offseason. All right, moving on. It's official. The Winnipeg Jets will host an outdoor game, the Heritage Classic, at Investors Group Field. It'll be versus the Oilers on October the 23rd. Is that a little early to you, Paul? October?
I think that's because the Winnipeg weather gets so nasty.
Yeah, it's Winterpeg, as we like to call it.
Yeah.
So
Again, alumni game going to be awesome.
oh my God! Is this even better? I already want to talk about that. Yeah, it's the fourth Heritage Classic. It's the first since 2014, I believe. But these alumni games, I'm looking forward to these even more than the actual games now.
Oh yeah.
All these guys that I grew up as a kid watching, and now this is going to be like the classic 80s Oilers are going to be there. Wow, that's going to be fantastic to see them.
Oh yeah, and they're overshadowing the Winnipeg Jets big time. Like Winnipeg Jets aren't going to have that solid of an alumni team.
They'll have the classic guys, and of course, guys like Thomas Dean. You expect him to be there. Teemu Selanne. So they still have some great names. They're going to probably Tempo Newman. So great guys. But again, the classic Oilers with Gretzky and hopefully most of those guys can come, like Coffey and so on and so forth. It'll be great to see them. That's way more exciting in my opinion than the actual game itself.
Yeah.
Even though, hey, Connor McDavid will be there and will be the beginning of their next season, and hopefully they take the next step to being better.
Yeah, Peter, I got something to say.
Go ahead.
We had a little error and omission from the Kings. Zykov got traded for Versteeg.
To Carolina. That is correct.
Yeah.
During the trade deadline.
Yeah, as soon as he said his name, I was like, I wanted to say it right then and there, but I wanted to double check. So as you were calling out the alumni names, I was like, I got to look into this. So Zykov got traded to Versteeg. So
oh man, he's such a good defenseman. He'll be good for the Canes then.
Yes.
So it'll be tough to fill in those deep holes for the Kings next season. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see what they do there.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my bad on that one.
That's all right.
All right. All right. Well, let's get into the next one then. Zach Ronaldo. I am correct on this, right? He did get suspended in the NHL, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then he went to the AHL, and in his first game, he made another dirty hit, and he got suspended indefinitely, right?
Yes.
And now they're saying it's going to be 5 games. Am I correct?
This is all correct.
What the hell is he doing?
I don't get how they should be allowed to play in the AHL if they're suspended from the NHL.
I was questioning that automatically. I was shocked, actually, that they allowed him to go to the minors and play.
Yeah, because if you get suspended in any league games, you can't play IHF. So
yeah, again, if you're suspended, you shouldn't be getting paid, right?
Yeah.
So then, if he goes to the AHL and he plays those games in the A, is he getting paid? Well, I'm guessing he must be getting paid. He's not going to play not getting paid.
Yeah, unless he served his games somehow being sent down to the AHL and he had 2 games back to back and 3. I could have worked like that, and maybe he served his NHL suspension, and because he Rafi Torres didn't get to play AHL hockey while he was suspended, so I think that must have happened, that he served his time between NHL, AHL games, and then came back, and now he's got another suspension. But just quit hockey. Just get rid of these guys. These guys are not needed for the league.
Yeah. And you know what? I feel bad because when he first started, he could score. He was scoring some goals when he first started in the NHL. And he was both a hitter and a scorer. And then I don't know what happened, but within 2-3 years, they diminished his ice time, I guess, and he just became a dirty hitter then.
And I think a lot of guys end up doing that. They find a role and then they get stuck. It's tunnel vision from these coaches that's what their game is like.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of guys that are dominant OHL, CHL guys that have the hands, and then all of a sudden they have to start fighting when they get to the NHL to make that roster spot.
Yeah.
And then they get pegged as a fighter or one of these agitators, and that's where they end up making a career. So
it's too bad, but sometimes you gotta lace them up or unlace the skates and take a seat.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Tampa Bay Lightning They lost, right, Paul?
Yes, they lost to Boston on Tuesday night, 1-0 in overtime. Brad Marchand scored.
Oh yes, Brad Marchand. He should be playing for Team Canada in the fall. But anyways, they did have what 9 straight wins, I believe. Do you think, Paul, this is the best Tampa Bay team of all time? I know. They were amazing in 2004. They won the cup, but they made the playoffs for just 4 straight years, and magically that one year everything came together. But the other 3 years, they lost easily in the first round, and in '03 they won one round, and then again got taken out easily in the second round. And then they didn't even make the playoffs the next 3 straight seasons. This new group, in my opinion, looks as long as like, and that's a big question mark if Stamkos stays or not this summer. What do they get for Drouin? But this core, especially that second line, they're a solid second line, and they've been fairly injured this year. And look where they are right now. They're back to first in the division, even with so many injuries. They got swept in 2013 and 14. Stamkos was playing hurt. We saw that. Bishop wasn't even playing because he got injured right before the playoffs. And they lost each game by only 1 goal, except for game 2, I believe, against the Habs. But last year, they took the champs. They took the Hawks to game 6 in the finals. I still believe this year they're going to do even more damage.
Yeah, in the offseason, they were touted to be going right back to the Stanley Cup Finals. They were that good. They were built right. They weren't losing any of their core guys, and shaky start, obviously, with all the injuries and that triplet line that was so dominant last year. They put them back together, and they just couldn't get the 3 on the ice together at the same time. At pretty much any given time, there wasn't the 3 of them playing together. And now they're finally back together, and you're seeing them dominate again. So they're looking like they might make a long playoff run.
They had the big 3 back in the day with St. Louis, LeCavalier, and Brad Richards. They have the small 3, the triplets, on the second line, who are good. They're not top-level good, but they're solid. They're a great second line. You could say they're probably the best second line in all of hockey. Could you?
Oh, yeah, I would say that.
And then you still have the super sniper of Steven Stamkos, the solid goaltending of Bishop, who's much better than the previous Tampa Bay goalies that they had before, right?
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, I don't know. Again, time will tell how much these guys are as good as compared to the last one. But maybe they won't be considered the best Tampa Bay team of all time if they don't win the cup. That's always the end result. Can they win the cup? If they win the cup just once, I think automatically they're the best Tampa Bay team of all time for this era compared to that previous era. And if they don't, hey, you never know. I guess they're not, but they look great.
So do you think they can go toe-to-toe with Chicago this year if they make it back?
You know what? If everything falls properly for Tampa Bay, I think it'll be another good fight in the finals. Because Tampa Bay has more experience now, and that's exactly what they needed, and that's what they got from last year. And now they know how to win games. They're showing it again right now, and they showed it last year in the playoffs. So I really think that they could be a sneak. People aren't expecting Tampa Bay right now because how poorly they played early on in the season. People aren't expecting them to go far. But who is there to beat in the East? Is it just the Capitals? And if it's just the Capitals, we know what the Capitals have done in previous seasons, in previous playoffs. They haven't succeeded. So maybe they can take out the Capitals because of that. So that'll be the question. And if they go to the finals, anything's up for grabs.
Yeah, and it's the old adage of saying, what was that? I totally blanked out. You gotta learn how to lose to win the game, and just like the Penguins did in 08-09.
Yep, and the Hawks the year before, right?
Yeah,
or before, after, because of the Red Wings, yes, with the Penguins, yes, after. Same thing. The Hawks did the exact same thing too. They lost. They were close the previous year, and then they won the next year, kind of thing.
Yeah. So maybe the Lightning pulled that one off. So
yeah, nobody's really looking at them right now, but I feel that they could go far this year. So we'll see. All right, we talked about them right now, and we're gonna team ISO Paul's favorite team, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Paul, where did you think the Penguins? How did you think their season was going to go and they would end up?
I thought they'd be fighting for Metro Division. Honestly, did.
Yeah.
But I don't think that on paper they look like a great team, but on the ice, Mike Johnston had them all messed up. I did not like his system. He completely changed his system from the year previous. He thought he needed to change it, and it didn't work. And now Mike Sullivan's come in, and he's really changed the way they play, and that they're starting to figure it out. But they still have trouble scoring. Like, they'll go hot and they'll score 6, and then the next night they won't score any. And I think it has a lot to do with the back end. We're just not strong on the back end.
Mm-hmm. They're very young, and they didn't really replace anybody to play on their back end. So it's full of holes. I told you, Paul, before, I actually predicted that the Penguins would struggle and they would probably fire their coach. I had their coach being fired as one of the top coaches to be fired. And then I expected them to kind of be maybe in the wild card spot or maybe in the third spot in that division. But right now, they're 5 points? Is it behind the Islanders for the third spot in the Metro?
Yeah, they lost the Islanders Tuesday night. It was terrible. They really need to win that. And yeah, now they put themselves back in a pretty deep hole to try and bump up into the Metro Division standings. So
yeah, well, at least they're quite a bit ahead of whoever's now in ninth. I think last time I checked, it was like Philly or somebody that was like in ninth, and there was like 5-6 points ahead. So
yeah, they're 3 points ahead right now of Philly.
Okay, there you go. Philly's right there. But again, the team has really turned it around, and Crosby's playing better. Hornqvist is really playing a lot better.
Yeah.
How many goals does he have now in like the last 3 or 4 games? He has like at least 5.
He's got 17 on the year, but yeah, in the past like 8 or 9 games, he's got his hat trick, his first hat trick of his career, and 2 or 3 other ones. Yeah, he's playing really well right now, and he's just playing hard net front presence hockey the way he's pretty much always scored his goals. So
you're taking the words right out of my mouth. Exactly. He's going back to what he was always good at and going to net more often now, and that's good.
Yeah.
And locking up Olli Mata just recently to that 6-year, $4.1 million was a solid deal. That's really good for them doing that.
Yeah, he's so. Some games I really, really like him. Like watching him, he's phenomenal. And then other games, he just looks like he's got bricks on his skates. Like for some reason, he hasn't quite found that consistency level of playing hockey. So hopefully that comes with getting a little bit older and a little bit more experience. But him and Letang on a line pairing together is doing really well. And I just think like Dumoulin's a young guy that hasn't played much hockey. Daly's pretty good, but he's not a top level defenseman. And Pouliot really took a step back in training camp. They really did not like the way he played in preseason, so he went back to the AHL and learned the defensive game. They weren't too happy with his gap control and stick presence, so they had to reteach him how to play in the NHL. So they finally brought him back up, and now he's fighting for a spot with Justin Schultz.
So he's fighting right now for that 6th spot, eh?
Yeah, and Justin Schultz came in and picked up a point right away, and even Mike Sullivan, after Schultz's first game, really, really was impressed with how Justin Schultz played, and I think he's going to do real well with the Penguins. He's a good 5'6" guy, and he's not needed to be the top offensive guy like the Oilers wanted him to be. So
Hmm.
I think he's going to fit into the lineup really well there.
Well, I was going to actually ask you why Pouliot hasn't transitioned to a top six yet, but you just answered it. Other prospects they got on team: Matt Murray, drafted in 2012 in the third round. This trade deadline, everybody was pretty much calling the Penguins about Matt Murray. He's already named to the North American team, right? For the World
Yes,
Cup?
he is. Yeah, which is
Why?
awesome.
So, what's all about Matt Murray, and why is he expected to be one of the next best goalies in the NHL in the next generation, Paul?
I really hope this kid doesn't turn into. Do you remember Jack Campbell,
Oh yeah,
who was like the next highly touted U.S. goalie coming out of juniors, and he could never find a spot with the Stars?
yeah,
I really hope this doesn't happen to him because the Penguins don't want to move him because they're worried about Fleury, and this goalie's going to be the next, like Murray's going to be the next after Fleury, and I
yeah,
really hope they don't hold on to him so long and don't give him a chance to be a 1A goalie because Fleury's still peaking in his career, and I hope he doesn't fall off like Jack Campbell. Like Jack Campbell's now playing ECHL hockey.
hmm
Like that, I really hope that doesn't happen to this kid because this kid is good.
he must be. Everybody wanted him at the deadline, and he's already named to the North American under 24 team. So
Yeah.
sounds good. And then there's Daniel Sprong, second rounder just last year. The Dutch native. He's really fast, and he's really good at deking as well, a right winger, and he has good potential. I think he'll be a solid second line offensive winger.
Oh,
What do you think?
I was so excited when they drafted this. So I went out to PEI. He plays for the Charlottetown Islanders in the
Yeah.
QMJHL. So I went out to PEI in the summer, and I brought my Dutch jersey because I knew
Nice.
this kid's Dutch, and
Yeah.
there's very few Dutch players that are ever going to play in the NHL, and I'm Dutch, so I brought my Dutch hockey jersey. And just before the draft, I was touring Charlottetown, and I got a picture in front of the PEI Charlottetown Islanders arena.
Nice.
And the next day, Pittsburgh drafted Daniel Sprong. It's meant to be. It was probably the coolest thing because my wife took pictures for me, and she was all like, "Oh, why are we getting these pictures? Like, you don't even know the Charlottetown Islanders. Like, you're not a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
QMJHL fan." And I was like, "Well, this Daniel Sprong kid, he's going to be a hockey player, and I probably will follow his career because he's Dutch and he'll be in the NHL."
Yeah.
And the Pittsburgh Penguins drafted him, so I'm pretty pumped. I hope this kid turns out to be quite a stud of a player. So
Nice. That's
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
Who else is out there, Paul, for your team?
Well, we got a lot of AHL guys already contributing into the lineup, like Brian Rust, 2010. He's been an AHL guy for a really long time. This guy's got wheels. He's really fast, so he's finally cracked the lineup. I think he's got a roster spot locked in for the rest of this year and probably next year. Scott Wilson getting a chance to play with Sidney Crosby.
I saw that. What's going on? They were drafted, what, the same year?
2011, the 7th round pick. So
I heard something weird with that. All right, go ahead.
Connor Sheary, he's in and out of the lineup. He's been sent down, called up. He actually came out and talked to one of the Pittsburgh beat writers. I can't remember who, but he said that he was not playing well because he was terrified of playing with Crosby. They had him on the Crosby's wing for quite a while, and Crosby didn't have that great of a start. So
Yeah.
this kid's reading all the headlines and it's like, maybe I'm the reason why Crosby isn't that good. So
That's not good.
hopefully he gains his confidence back and puts that all behind him and just realizes that he's got to play his game. And yeah, he's been in and out of the lineup. Tom Kuhnhackl, another 2010 draft pick. Like, we got a lot of guys that have just been learning how to play a good Penguin system hockey. So on the back end, Derek Pouliot, we mentioned. Brian Dumoulin's also one of the top guys. They're just really not very experienced. So,
Yep.
and then guys out of the lineup, Tristan Yari is another great goaltender that is tearing up the AHL now that Matt Murray's been called up. So there's another goalie in the depth chart that is going to probably be an NHL starter at some point. Oscar Sundqvist, he was supposed to be make the team at a training camp, but he got hurt, so he hasn't been called up since. But Oscar Sundqvist, 2012 third rounder, he's probably going to be a Penguin by next year, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we got some prospects, but not a whole lot, and not top talent.
Yeah, you'd think Pouliot or maybe Sprong would be the highest among them.
Yeah, I'd probably put Murray as the number one prospect.
That's right.
But our prospect we're probably ranked one of the lowest teams with prospects. So
yeah, making trades to get guys for the playoffs. That's why.
Yeah, and they had so many first round picks that have panned out. There haven't really been any first round busts that they've taken. Good. So yeah.
All right, good to know that Paul knows every single prospect on this Pittsburgh organization. All right. All right, let's go to, we're going to review our friendly bets that Peter's pretty much winning them all, right, Paul?
Yeah. Okay. I'm not doing so well.
So the first one we made pretty much at the beginning of the season was Kadri versus Gronk, and Kadri's ahead now by a goal, right?
Yeah, he is just squeaking out more goals than touchdowns, which is embarrassing to be Nazem Kadri, but...
Yeah, but hey, Kadri missed a couple of games too, so...
Yeah, that's why he doesn't have 6 more goals yet. He missed a couple games.
Yeah, but hey, I told you that I was expecting 15, 16 goals, and I said before that I don't expect Gronk to hit that, and that's why I made that bet.
Well, Gronk missed some games too, so...
I know, yeah, he did. He missed like 2 games near the end, right? So, there you go. And then Ovi versus Kane. Where is that right now, Paul?
Jeez. Throwing that curveball at me.
Ovi's leading. I know that.
Yeah.
And how much is he leading by?
I'm just about there. 41-38.
Ooh.
So it's close. Still close.
Still close. 3-goal lead for Alex Ovechkin over Showtime Kane. All right, and then we have the most recent one we just made a week ago was my Ducks pick versus your LA Kings pick. Who will win the Pacific Division? And that standing is currently Ducks.
Yeah. Did you watch the Monday game? Those two teams?
I saw a bit of it, yes.
Oh, it was awesome.
A brawl, was it?
What's that?
It was a brawl.
Yeah.
They were all over each other.
Yeah, and it was a really good game. Seeing those two played now and hoping they make it to the playoffs to compete against each other, that's going to be a great matchup. That Southern California matchup's going to be good.
They've really done a good job, the NHL, and the Ducks and the Kings are at the top of the teams now. They're really up there. They're doing really well.
Yeah. Imagine being the Ducks. Like, they were terrible at the beginning of the year. Like,
nothing was working. Kessler was awful. Perry was awful, too, at the beginning in the first month. Getzlaf couldn't hit the side of a barn. And everything just slowly came together. And now everything's clicking. So,
yeah.
And again, the trade, it really worked. Maroon wasn't working on the first line, so he wasn't getting the minutes. And Hagelin wasn't working, and they made the trade with the Penguins for Hagelin. They got Perron, and Perron is fitting in perfectly with their system.
Yeah.
So,
and same with McGinn. They pretty much brought in McGinn to take out Patrick Maroon's spot. So, yeah, they're dangerous, and they got 2 great goalies. Anderson and Gibson are battling with each other, and I really don't know who's the 1A in that situation.
Yeah, that's always the question with Anaheim. Which goalie are they going to go before? Was with Hiller and Anderson and other goalies previous. But again, the Kings. I always have a question mark with the Kings. You don't know, but they could just turn it around within one game, and boom, they're a great team again.
Yeah.
They're so unpredictable. I don't know what to expect from these Kings sometimes. That year when they won the Cup, right? They came back. That was the greatest playoff of ever any team with comebacks, right? It was
Yeah.
insane.
And they were the 8th seed, so...
Yeah, they went through 1, 2, and 3, I believe.
Yeah.
So, and that was just one of the 2 years, right?
Yeah, so do you got any other friendly bets that you want to throw out and see if we can find another one, or...
You know what? I was going to leave that for next episode.
Okay, yeah, deal.
We're going to have a new friendly bet next episode. So check that out. So, Paul, what is the prospect of the week?
Prospect of the week. We talked about this kid a long time ago. Let's see if you get a good memory. Jace Howrluck.
Howrluck, yes.
Yeah, remember him? I think it was like episode 2 we talked about him.
Beginning, yeah.
Actually, it was the very first episode. Our very first.
He's doing well again.
Yeah, we team ISO'd Florida way back then. So he's a Florida draft pick. He's the prospect of the week. 4 games played in the last week, ending March 8th. 10 goals, 16 assists for 16 points.
Wow.
That's 4 points a game. That's crazy. So,
that's insane.
Yeah, his overall stats, he's got 95 points in 53 games played. He's really turned up his offense, and yeah, the Brandon Wheat Kings are, once again, I'm saying it, they're built for the Memorial Cup, and I think they're going to be tough to beat in the WHL. So, yeah, Jace Howrluck is our prospect of the week.
Nice, and we will post that on jablamhockey.com as we do every week. Prospect of the week is on there. All right, that's it for this episode. Next episode, we will be doing, again, fantasy up and down. Paul will give you some tips and recommendations there. We're going to team ISO the Detroit Red Wings and the San Jose Sharks just because the playoffs is coming up, and we want to give them all to you before we start analyzing the matchups in the playoffs. And, of course, we got Saturday's picks. And the big question is, and we'll talk about it next episode, is this current Maple Leafs team the worst Maple Leafs team of all time? We talked about Tampa Bay maybe being the best, but is this Maple Leafs team the worst of all time? It's been a long time. It's a huge organization. They've been around for a long time. But this possibly could be the worst. Eh, Paul?
Yeah, we're going to dig deep in the next couple days and get back to you guys Thursday or Friday and let you know what we came up with.
Cool. And the last thing, I forgot to talk about it before, the Chicago Blackhawks today locked up Kruger. 3 years, $9.25 million. Is that a little high, Paul? I love Kruger, though. He's a great fourth-line guy, but he's always been a fourth-line guy. Seems a bit much for a guy that you'd think they're going to leave on the fourth line, or what are they going to do, move him up?
Yeah, they seem like they do this quite often, like Brian Bickle, and I'm trying to think of other examples, but yeah, they seem like they pay their bottom six a little too pricey, and it ends up making them have to move them.
Well, they had that problem after the first year they won the Cup when they had to overpay Bufflin and Ladd and those guys. So that was the whole email fax error that they had.
Yeah.
So they, instead of paying them all 1.5, they had to pay them all $3 million or whatever. So that was that problem. But yeah, Kruger's maybe one of those guys, and you know, if they're stuck with the cap, they might have to move him in a year or two.
Well, and they give him a
contract. He deserves it. He's a great player.
And they give him a modified no trade clause.
Yeah.
Why does Marcus Kruger get the respect of getting a no trade clause? Like,
he's been there a while. He has been there a while, and he's doing such a good job in the fourth line. And he seems like one of those guys, like, he will do his job and he won't say anything about it, right? He doesn't care that he's not getting the big minutes. He's not getting the power play minutes. But he's doing a solid job for them, and he's happy that his team is winning, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, hopefully it works out for the Hawks and keeping Kruger in the lineup. But it would be nice to see if maybe they move him up in the lineup. You know, he does get to put in a couple goals here and there. So, we'll see. All right. Well, that's it. We'll leave you with that. And again, check us out next episode. But again, check us out on our website. If I haven't said it again, jablamhockey.com. We're up there. We're online. Check us out. All our episodes are there. See you next episode.
Bye.